Good evening. Tonight I will narrate 3 Glitch in the Matrix stories for you. Try to relax and let me guide you into these stories. My girlfriend from another reality? I recently moved to a new city to study. From the moment I got there, I have been noticing glitches frequently. Small ones, like dropping something on the floor and having it appear several feet in front of me, or just disappear. I've also been having some insane déjà vus. They can last for hours, and a couple of times I've been able to anticipate what people were gonna say. What happened tonight, though, actually scared me. Me and my roomie went out for a cigarette, and my girlfriend stayed in my room. We live in dorms. When we came back, my friend stopped to talk to someone, so I went into the hallway where my room is. There I see my girlfriend leave my room, go further down the hall and into her own room. She was wearing a dark t-shirt, and not the hoodie she wore when I left. I thought she might have been warm. I heard her lock the door behind her, and thought maybe something was wrong. We were supposed to watch a movie that night. I knocked on the door and my roomie asked why. I said my girlfriend went in there. He looked inside her room and said, "No, she's here." It felt like my heart stopped when I saw her sitting on my bed. There's no one else who looks like my girlfriend at our school, and no one's got the keys to her room. I was pretty close and I stared at her the whole time, completely sure it was her. I know it couldn't have been anybody else. It's 4 a.m. and I feel like I'm losing my mind. She didn't believe me, but it doesn't matter. I know what I saw. I knew something I couldn't have known. This happened several years ago, when I was a sophomore in high school. I used to take chorus, and so after that period, I was always used to our rehearsal song stuck in my head. I was humming one as I walked to the class I had after chorus. I turned the corner of the hallway, and clear as day, that me voice that everyone has in their head says, "Dad's in the hospital. His heart." It was such a random and intrusive thought that I dismissed it immediately, as one of those weird things that pop into your head sometimes. I remember admonishing my brain for being so morbid and making me think of such a thing. I only had 3 minutes between bells, so I rushed into my class and sat down by 12:17. After school ended, my mother texted me to call her immediately after I left last period. I called her, wondering what would warrant a call. She said, "Don't freak out, but Dad went to the ER today." I gasped, not as a reaction to that news, but because I had already known. I remember hurrying to ask why, how, and when. She told me he'd been having pains in his chest and some trouble breathing. They thought it was his heart. I asked what time he went to the ER that day. It was 12:15. I have told my father that I knew all along these things as they happened, when I physically could not have. My father has absolutely no history of health problems, and my mind was completely not on him that day, at that moment, when such a specific thought popped into my head. Neither of us can explain how I knew, before I knew. I witnessed someone in their dying moments, from their view, during some battle in World War I. This happened last summer when I came home from a friend's party, very late at night. Maybe around 3:40 to 4:30 a.m. As soon as I got home, I knocked out and fell asleep on the couch. Now, before I get into my dream, I want to clarify. I didn't get high or drunk at the party. I'm kind of the dad of the group and make sure everyone gets home safe and stuff like that. But anyways, yeah, as soon as I drift off to sleep, I awake to what I'm guessing was a mortar strike. I immediately get up and find myself in a muddy trench with someone asking if I was alright. However, he didn't ask in English. He said it in what I can assume was French, because he looked like he was in one of those old French uniforms you see in pictures during World War I. "Tu es correct?" Now this next part is very hard to explain, but I didn't respond to him. The person I was viewing from his perspective responded to him. In French, of course. I don't even speak French, but I somehow knew what they were saying. I wasn't in control of him whatsoever, almost like I was in his head watching him. I don't know. But anyways, we hug and I'm just gonna say but I know I'm not in control. I'm just watching from this man's eyes. Tell him, it'll be alright, and we'll see each other on the other side. Ça va être correct. On va se voir dans l'autre côté. We start getting our stuff together and collect our thoughts before we charge into no man's land. We all got lined up and were waiting for the whistle to charge towards the trench. I look through my pockets and take out a locket of a woman which I'm guessing was his lover back home. My friend notices and tells me, "You will see her again one day, my friend. We aren't going to die here. Tu vas la voir encore. Inquiète-toi pas. On va pas mourir ici." I look to him and smile while I put the locket away. We hear the whistle to go over and we all shout, charging towards the enemy. Bullets were shot, mortars were fired, and there was unending bloodshed. I took cover in one of the many holes the mortar strike creates. I then come to my senses and realize my friend was out there somewhere. I shout his name, but I barely make a sound compared to all the gunfire and mortars. I get enough courage to get out of the hole and start running again, hoping I bump into him. As I was running, I got shot in the leg and the shoulder, and I immediately fell into another hole. I'm guessing I knew it was wrapped, because I barely had enough strength to look through my pockets and find the locket. I pop it open and look over at my lover one last time, as I hear a mortar slowly get louder as it was about to strike. I suddenly wake up gasping for breath. I swear to God I was nearly in tears as I felt what this poor guy went through. I look at my phone and it was noon. Later on in that day, I told my friends about it and they didn't believe me. To this day, I still have no idea what happened. I genuinely feel like I somehow time traveled back into someone's last moments, before they died during World War I. Still creeps me out whenever I think about it. What an incredible experience that must have been. This reads like an extremely vivid and lucid dream. I can't say I've ever experienced anything quite like it myself. I rarely remember my dreams. I can only begin to imagine the flood of emotions this person must have endured. It reminds me of that Inner Light episode from Star Trek TNG, where Picard spends a lifetime living with an extinct race. Well, he didn't know that, of course, only after. But then he's woken up at the end to realize it only lasted for 10 minutes. A lifetime condensed in 10 minutes. This wouldn't be exactly the same, but all those emotions would be hyper-condensed into such a brief period of time. That would be something you definitely remember. Anyways, like the video if you like it, and leave a comment.